All right. Boys and girls, Jets lose 13-8 for the second straight week. I would consider this a win for Zach Wilson as quarterback one, which is sad to say. This team sets the NFL offenses back about 100 years. There's a poll question in the live chat. Do you think we'll see Zach Wilson, or should we see Zach Wilson again this season? You guys can vote on that as you roll on in. I have Robert Saleh's press conference pulled up. We'll go to it live once he approaches the podium. I'll give you guys a few thoughts of what I saw out there today, because this was absolutely ridiculous from an officiating standpoint. The Jets finished with 11 penalties for 71 yards. Now, I can't blame like half the penalties on the referees, so this is still a very big coaching issue. But for some of the penalties that were thrown, especially early on in this game, like the whole first half, we had 8 penalties, and probably half of those were all bullshit calls. But man, so we've seen Trevor Siemian, we've seen Tim Boyle. And honestly, when I sit here, I say, one, Joe Douglas, you assembled the worst quarterback room outside of Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. And two, I think Robert Saleh was right playing Zach Wilson. I really do. I think Zach Wilson is the best quarterback for the New York Jets to play right now. Right now. And I thought the offensive line played well. I think this would be the best offensive line that Zach would have been able to play behind since the beginning part of the Broncos game. Remember, the Jets played their best game of the season against the Chiefs just one game earlier. That was the best combination. You had, left to right just really strong. Becton, Tomlinson, McGovern, Tippmann, AVT. Today, I think, was the second best line that we've gotten to see. Becton, Tomlinson, Tippmann, Wes, and then Carter Warren. Carter Warren still leaves a lot to be desired, but I like Dwayne Brown as the swing tackle as opposed to some of the other iterations that we've seen of the offensive line. Either way, not very good. Look, I would say today was better than the last game, but not by much. I mean, when you hear the stat, the Jets have more safeties in the first quarter than they do touchdowns on the season. That's insane. We got 3 safeties. You're telling me you don't have three offensive touchdowns in the first quarter? Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. So across the board, defense balls out again. Still some sloppy, like a little bit of sloppiness, little chippy, and I can understand why. That call on Reed, both for the interception I thought was horseshit, and then the hit that they deemed like a defenseless receiver. I mean, I guess he's defenseless, but like if you're hitting the receiver under the arm, like you're clearly not targeting like shoulders and up if you're catching him under the arm. And then for Garrett Wilson to not get the call in the same exact situation later on. You get a situation where I don't remember who it was on the Falcons. I think it was Jesse Bates popped Garrett Wilson. Definitely a more egregious defenseless receiver than anything else. Man, it just sucks. Offensive line, still not great. Coaching, still not great. The first part of this game, I was like, all right, on first down, when we get an incompletion, because it happens a lot, or we get a negative play, what's the second down play all the time? I've been saying it for weeks. It's always going to be a run up the gut. The first 4 friggin' first downs. First 4 first downs we get incomplete passes on. Sure as shit. Second down play. Run up the gut. Like, there's a lot of issues. I think Hackett's a problem. He got creative at least. I'll give him that. The flea flicker was nice. Got to see, I think it was an end around to Gibson. We did get a little creative. Today was not as bad as I normally think out of Hackett. I think our quarterback play was clearly detrimental. I mean, how many times do we have to see Garrett Wilson running wide open before our quarterbacks just automatically just try to throw him the ball? Like, the game plan should be Garrett Wilson is the primary read in every play. Every play. Every damn play. I don't want to see anyone else. I mean, Tyler Conklin's been good. Gibson's had a nice little shiny flash in the middle part of the season here, so that's nice. Man, I feel like Garrett Wilson's always running open. Like the chart you see with the grid, and you see, Garrett Wilson all the way at the top right. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. All right, boys and girls, now that you're hopping in here, I want to give you guys my thoughts. We're going to go to Robert Saleh's press conference live once that hits. I'm just waiting on that to start. I have it pulled up on the side, so we'll watch it together. We can discuss. Sorless comes in and says, clean house on the offensive side, start Zach. So I would be all right with starting Zach. I think, actually, honestly, I'm cool if they want to decide to start like Siemian for a week and then go back to Zach. I like the idea of, kind of getting some of the pressure off Zach. Ideally for me, I want Zach to look like the best quarterback on this roster because, at the very least, maybe you hold QB3 and the inactive role for him next season in conjunction with a backup quarterback. I feel like whatever quarterback you're looking to draft in this upcoming draft, it's not going to be high enough to have the upside that Zach currently has. And that's not me as a Zach truther. That's just honest. Unless you get the FSU kid. If you get the FSU kid, you got a shot. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. Randy comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Randy. He says, Guyurmi, we are clearly tanking. This team's trash. I'm not wasting no more of my life. This organization is a disgrace. Dude, I get you. I totally understand. This is not going to be an overly long post game for me because I've spent enough time on this team for today. And I would love to hang out with my 1.5-year-old because I find her far more entertaining than some of the shit I watch from this Jets team. But I'm here for you guys. I'm here to talk to you. Mike E comes in the super chat. Thank you. He says, I can't watch this anymore. I'm sorry. I just can't. Call me a fake fan, but I'm not letting the Jets ruin my Sundays anymore this year. I understand. I totally understand. And honestly, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I probably would be in the same boat. Call me a bad fan all you want, but I'm looking at the Tankathon rankings. And right now, the Jets, if the season were to end today. Now, we obviously have to wait and see if Tampa loses and then where everything else shakes out. Right now, the Jets would be holding like the 6th pick. Tankathon has us at 7, but they haven't updated us in front of the... Oh, no, the Giants have a weaker strength of schedule, so that makes sense. Damn. Not good. I completely understand your frustration. Oreo, what's up, dude? Oreo comes in, says, doesn't matter who's out there. Blame Joe Douglas for not getting a viable backup. With Zach Wilson, we would have lost 12-13. Anyone who disagrees must have forgot how bad he is. I think Zach and the offense were not effective, but I think it was worth switching to the backup quarterbacks to see if it was a Zach problem or if it was an offensive coordinator problem or if it was a Zach problem. And based on what I've seen out of these last 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks with Boyle and Siemian, I don't think it's a quarterback issue. And it's kind of where I was beforehand, even though I was for benching Zach, just not for Tim Boyle. I don't think anyone... If you could show me one content creator that wanted Tim Boyle over Trevor Siemian initially, I'd laugh because I see a lot of people saying, oh, you got to be kidding me, you called for this. No, wanted Siemian. Although Siemian doesn't look good either. So there it is. Don't think it's a Zach problem. Blitz Crew comes and says, there's a chance the coaches may know more about the right quarterback situation than us. Liked the nod to Knapp today. Give Ashton Davis more time. So yes, I do think the coaches, Robert Saleh and Hackett, do know better. They thought Zach was the best quarterback on this roster. I think that's clearly true. Come argue with me if you think it's not. Like, aside from Rodgers, Zach definitely gives us the best chance to win, given his mobility, his arm strength, what we've even just seen from him. You can't tell me anything I've seen from Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian was a positive in comparison to Zach Wilson. And for those of you that don't know, they did the Knapp 50 today. They did 50, I think it was 50 sets of bleachers is what they wound up doing. It was everyone from, I think it was the Jets and Falcons, because remember, he was with the Falcons prior to his time with the New York Jets. I really like that. And as far as Ashton Davis, I would love to retain Ashton Davis. I didn't have him re-signed on my mock offseason, and it wasn't for me not wanting him back, but I'd love to get him back. We haven't put a lot of priority in safety, but maybe one safety that Douglas drafted that is playing well. The dude actually shows up when it matters. That's the type of safety you want. Rather than maybe rolling the dice on a Chuck Clark or something like that, or maybe you roll the dice on a Chuck Clark and you bring back, Ashton Davis. I don't think we'll see Whitehead next year. I'd be a little surprised with that. I like that. Joe S says, how could you justify bringing Saleh back? I think you justify it by saying he was clearly playing the best quarterback with Zach for so long until the season was pretty much lost, and then he decided to make the switch to a lesser quarterback, which I think was more so to appease the fans and sort of show like, look, it's not on Zach. So I'll give Saleh credit for that. I think he did play the best quarterback. But as far as like justify bringing Saleh back, I think you justify it because of Rodgers getting hurt. I think that's what it is. What head coach are you going to get for an interim period with a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles injury? Do you think they're going to bring in an outside head coach, or do you think they would promote Nathaniel Hackett from within? I think they would promote Nathaniel Hackett from within, so I do not want to move off of Robert Saleh. There's plenty of things to be upset with Robert Saleh about, but I think his handling of the quarterback situation for basically the last 2 years really hasn't been like that crazy bad, all things considered. I blame Joe Douglas for not having the quarterbacks in the bullpen for Robert Saleh to take advantage of, more than I blame Robert Saleh for the quarterback situation specifically. V-Man says, you know what's embarrassing? Since the Jets last won a Super Bowl, the Beatles performed 2 live release albums and 3 singles with 2 different documentaries. You know what, V-Man? You and your stats, you always got one for me. You always got one. I appreciate it. I wish we could give me some optimistic stats. Give me something like I can give a little rallying cry behind. Meant 4 singles. Makes it worse. Oh, V-Man. What the hell? Oh, geez. All right, boys and girls, I'm waiting on Robert Saleh's press conference to start. Once I see it start here, it was scheduled for 4:15. It still has not gone live. But once that goes live, we'll hop over to the screen. I'll have this up over here, so we will go to that momentarily as soon as we see that live. We'll take a listen to it together, see what winds up happening, and what's going on with our New York Jets. Guys, if you're just tuning in and you want to support the channel, Underdog Fantasy, use promo code JETS247. Get yourself a 100% match up to $100. Help support the channel. Means they'll want to keep sponsoring. And I get to keep making content for you that you guys probably don't want to see because our Jets stink so bad. But I'll make it. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate it. All right. Keeping an eye on the presser here. Let's see what you guys have to say. Dice comes in, says, I remember the week before Super Bowl III watching the game on a black and white TV and the newspaper headlines the next day, you young guys got another 25 years to get where old fans are at. Yeah, look, we've got a while to go. I've luckily, for my lifetime, until 2011, I'd seen the most prolific the Jets team has been in their careers from like 97 or so through 2010. And then the last half of my fanhood has been terrible. Outlaw says, so why you won't bring in Carson Wentz or Cam Newton? I don't think Cam Newton's bad and Carson Wentz is I don't think Cam Newton's very good. I guess he would be better than what we currently have, but he looked washed the last time we played him. I think Wentz would have been an absolute slam dunk to bring in earlier this year. Joe S. says, Saleh lost 6 games in a row last year and 5 games so far this year. I think it's going to be more than 5 games by the time this is all said and done. This could be, what could it be, a 10-game losing streak? I think it would be a 10-game losing streak if we lost out from here. I do think the Jets are talented enough to win some of these games. Like I could see I don't know how bad the C.J. Stroud injury is, but it's possible the Houston game where Davis Mills came in, maybe you get a chance to beat them. Tank Dell got carted off the field as well, so they're going to be banged up coming into MetLife next week. I think the Patriots are atrocious. There's every shot the Jets could wind up beating them the final week of the season. And then the Browns with Joe Flacco, I guess we got to see how they end up playing. I could still see some wins, but this offense is like, it's putrid. It's so bad. Billy SBC says Tittman, AVT, Brown, and Becton equals backups. Trade down in the first, stack O-line, sign Mike Evans, winning combo. So I do want to sign Mike Evans. I'm there on that. I'm good with trading down. Tittman, AVT, and then Brown and backup. Maybe you're saying Brown and Becton are backups, but Tittman and AVT are starters. I think that's what you're saying. I guess I would agree on that. Okay, we're going to go over to Robert Saleh's press conference right now. Let's see.
Hard. I'm not going to apologize for their style of play at the end of the first half. Borderline comical, but we've got to clean up the pre-snap stuff on offense with regards to the usage of cadence. It's obviously fooling us more than it is them, but it's stuff we got to get better at.
Robert, you now have 8 losses. Just realistically, do you feel like the playoffs are out of reach?
We got to focus one at a time, cuz I get it, but whether you're in it, out of it, it doesn't matter. You got to show up, you got to work, you got to find ways to get better and compete.
You went through a similar thing last year, losing 6 straight. How do you prevent that from happening once again?
Same thing I said. You just got to keep grinding. Continue to find ways to take advantage of our opportunities when they present themselves, and but when you're backed into a corner, the only thing you can do is keep swinging.
Robert, do you have the players on offense to improve from what you guys have shown these last 6 games?
We've got to find a way to get the guys that we do have better, for sure.
Ooh,
Robert,
interesting comment there.
You've tried
That's a good way to
everything,
deflect that.
It seems like, to get this offense going, with the exception of the adjustment at play caller. I think that's the cries from a lot of people is change from Hackett, change from Hackett, change from Nate. Why are you sticking with him? Like, what are you seeing that maybe other people, the public, are not, to try to...
No, it's a fair question. Like, I mean, you can. I guess you guys will have a better idea when you see the all 22 from this one.
Did you feel like schematically you did some better things today?
I do. I thought there was some. There was a lot of yardage that I feel like we left out there today. And obviously, I'm
I think
gonna
with
go back and
Garrett
watch
being
it again,
wide
but,
open, this can't be on
but there was
Hackett for today.
Some really, really good opportunities that I feel like we missed out on.
It was like you were planning to give Cook a bigger role, and then he had the fumble. How costly was the fumble?
And did
that affect usage?
No. The fumble was unfortunate. I felt like he's been running the ball really well. He looked really good in practice. Obviously, he's looking good. And getting those guys more carries between him and Brees. You got to convert third downs to be able to give yourself some extra opportunities in the run game. I think we ran it like 25 times, but or something like that. But there's so many more opportunities that we could have had if we could just find a way to be a little bit more efficient.
Robert, prior to the fumble, Dalvin had it going pretty good there, and then you brought Brees in. Does Dalvin need a blow there, or is that just kind of getting mixed in? Because it seemed like you kind of went away from Dalvin.
Yeah, after a couple of carries, you give the other guy an opportunity. I think Brees had a couple in a row that were pretty good. Bring in Dalvin, same thing, couple in a row. So you just got to go by feel.
I know you said you're not there with the quarterback situation. Will Zach be in consideration, and what's going to lead to this?
He's always in consideration, but to what level? Like I said, I'm not there yet.
What did you think of the way Trevor played when he came in?
I thought he did a good job. Got the first completion to Conk. I'll challenge him. I think he's going to kick himself when he goes back to that one with an opportunity ball. I think to Garrett. I believe. I got to go back and look just to make sure I'm not. But there was a couple of protection breakdowns, but overall it felt fine. I got to go back and look, but it obviously still wasn't good enough.
The injuries, Uzama, Brownlee, Winfrey, are any of those potentially serious?
CJ is dealing with an MCL. I'll get more tomorrow. Perrion's probably done. That one, he was dealing with an ankle or a foot. That one's pretty bad, really bad. And then
for the guy.
Brownlee is dealing with an ankle.
Robert, in the first half,
Brownlee was able to walk off. The other two were carded.
The next-gen doubts. I mean, it looked like Garrett was open a lot, like breaking free. Why weren't you guys able to get it to him?
I'll have a better answer for you tomorrow.
How do you keep the defense from
Why weren't you able to hit him? The quarterback's not fucking
it's
seeing
fine.
it. That's
It's
what
a
it
fair
is.
question. Our defense is built the right way. They're not going to stop.
You get to stop Robert with, I think, about 5:30 left. Ball back. Did you keep feeling like, okay, all we need is one drive here?
Ball at midfield in the NFL. You get a backed up opportunity, and I always say if you can keep them backed up and they punt the ball and you feel it at the logo, you're supposed to score. And we need to expect more from ourselves when we're in those positions to go score.
It seemed, I know they let up some pressure late, but it seemed like the offensive line was a little bit better today.
Yeah, it was fine. I'm always going to strain them to be 100%. and to give the quarterback as much time as possible. I thought West stepped in and did a nice job. I thought Carter did a nice job. Not happy with the pre-snap penalties with regards to the offsides and the procedure penalties we had on that side of the ball with regards to trying to get too cute, I guess, with cadence. But overall, I thought it's something that we can build off of with that group.
Does this loss affect the plan for Aaron Colorado going forward?
No, our plan for Aaron is consistent with he's in rehab. That's all he's doing.
All good. Trevor will be next.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. So that was rough. You saw Robert Saleh like trying to hold back a laugh. Here. Looks like they have Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian both listed for post-game press conferences. I'll pull up the Trevor Siemian one. I'm not overly interested in the Boyle one, but I'll pull up the Siemian one for when he does go. It seems like he's the next one to talk. But as far as what Robert Saleh had to say just there, I'm sorry. I think he's been playing the best quarterback. Seems like the defense is going to keep fighting. Like, heck, even this game, the defense kept bringing it. Offensive line, I think it's the best combination of guys that we've had out there. Still a lot to be desired. Becton gave up the fumble, or no, it wasn't a fumble. Sorry, it was an incomplete pass hit from behind. Carter Warren whiffed real bad on a Conklin chip on, I believe it was Ebikete at the end there. Oh, we got Siemian. Let's see what we got with Siemian here.
So I'm trying to do something ridiculous and get the ball up the field, but I think I had the ball on the ground too many times. A couple times I got hit when I was throwing, but I can't. That's my job. Take care of the ball for sure.
Do you feel good in that spot where the defense held? It was like 5:30 left, I think. You get the ball back at midfield around.
Oh yeah.
Is that like okay?
Yeah, you got plenty of time, plenty of opportunity to win. I think we had the short field one time. We got into there across the 50 once. Frustrating. Yeah.
Couple more. You've been an observer of this offense for most of the season. The struggles. Just kind of how frustrating is this for your entire group right now, just not being able to get in the end zone?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody. I think you realize that the margin for error in this league is so razor thin that feel like you it could be so close, and then it could look totally the other way. So, I think it's good being around this group, starting with coaches, wired the right way, got some grit. And we're going to find a way to get better this week and be ready to play Sunday.
Good. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Trevor.
All right, so that took all of 2 seconds. Good long presser right there from Mr. Trevor Siemian. I guess I'll go over. Let's see if we get a Tim Boyle one. Do we get a Tim Boyle one? I'll leave that over there. If Tim Boyle comes up, sure, why not? We'll talk about it. So overall, I want to hear how you guys are feeling. Let's jump into some more comment questions. I did put a poll question in the chat. We have 400 some odd votes on that poll question. As of saying this right now, 72% of you think that we should see Zach Wilson again this year. 28% say no. I tend to agree with the let's see Zach Wilson again at this point. All right. Let me find. Let's get back up to date on these super chats. Let me find. All right. So we did. I got Joe S. All right. Let me go through a few comments. For some reason, they're not popping up on this side, even though I know they're there. Let me try one more time. Not popping up. All right. So after V-Man, Hulk Smash Your Mom said, this season falls all on Joe Douglas's shoulders. Poor GMing. I would agree. I think not having the backup quarterback and not fixing the offensive line more than he attempted to definitely hurt us. Edward Ziff comes in with a super chat, says, Jeff Ulbrich, head coach, Jim Harbaugh, offensive coordinator, fire Saleh. It sucks. Harbaugh's never going to accept an OC job coming down from like the main Michigan guy. So he's going to be a head coach or a head coach GM combo. He's not going to be leaving, I don't think. Douglas McClure says, are people still delusional enough to think insert random quarterback, Wentz, Dobbs, Minshew, would yield any better results? I think the rest of the team and the play calling has been the bigger issue than the quarterback necessarily, but I think having a Brissett early on instead of a Zach might have been the better move. But the O-line's been a big issue. O-line's been a bigger issue. Joe S. comes in and says, Daboll is winning with a practice squad quarterback. It's fucking embarrassing. His offense is so much better than Nathaniel Hackett's. That's why I lean on Hackett being the issue, not so much the quarterback and offensive line. I mean, I get the offensive line woes. I get what we're seeing. I get the time is not there for the quarterback. And we're having like 13 different offensive lineman combinations. The Giants' offensive line is horrible. The Giants' offensive line is horrible, and they're finding ways to win with a bad quarterback. The Jets may pick in front of the Giants. That's how bad the Jets' offense is and how better the Giants' offense is. It's the difference with an offensive-minded head coach, because you get your offensive coordinator and you get your head coach, both offensive guys that you could pull play-calling duties from to make it all work out. Forever Ron says, we are so ass. Fire everyone. I'm done with this. Yes. I understand. I get it. If they decide to pull the plug, I would be very surprised. I don't think Saleh should be gone before Rodgers. I think Rodgers, Douglas, and Saleh should all be tied at the hip at this point. Allow them to move through their main plan that they wanted to next year, and then you pull the plug after that if you need to. Hopefully not. Hopefully this regime, turns it around with good quarterback play. But man, this team sucks. we are in rough shape right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to your comment questions as well, but let's do a little live chat reaction. I want to see what you guys have to say. Let me just get the link pulled up for you. All right, so we're going to end this poll. 72% of you say that Zach Wilson should start again. And here is the link to join the show if you would like to pop in for a little bit. We're going to pin that comment in there. Going to be at the top of the live chat. I want to hear what you guys have to say on what we're watching. Is this acceptable in any capacity? Do you guys have other plans moving forward with your Sundays? I just got to hear. I got to hear what's going on. All right, let's see. We're going to go over to Christian first. Let me get this all squared away. Christian, how you doing today, brother?
I feel really numb and dark and gloom inside. And then again, I'm not surprised at this point.
That bad, huh?
I don't know who said it, but I heard this online a few years ago. And he said, I'm frustrated. I'm tired of watching crap. It's been crap for years. I'm insulted. How dare you pass this off as NFL football? That's basically it.
That's really all you can say. You can't have this as your consistent NFL product. Christian, thank you so much for voicing your concern there. Don't love seeing it, but I understand it. All right, let's go over to Connor, see what Connor's like. Connor, how you doing tonight?
That was tough.
It's rough, right? What's the answer? We got to see Trevor, Siemian. We got to see Tim Boyle. Is Zach coming back in, you think?
I'd rather just throw Zach out there. I mean, I thought Siemian did way better than Boyle did the last 1.5, 2 games.
I agree. I don't think Boyle is an NFL caliber quarterback at all. I don't think there was anyone that wanted to see him start. Yeah. I mean, Siemian leaves a lot to be desired, too. I think I would probably start Siemian next week, see what he has with a week of preparation. But, I see in the chat, who cares? Is that where you're kind of at? I feel like I'm wasting my Sundays here, but I don't know.
I mean, 13-8. Defense only let up 13 points. We had 2 field goals and a safety. We had a short field, 2 possessions, 50-yard line, 1 to 2 times. You got to score a touchdown.
I completely agree, Connor. What's the answer? Do you think Saleh should be in hot water? Do you think it's the offensive line woes, or do you think it's just bad quarterback play at this point?
Just the offense, bad quarterback play. I think everyone one more season, but even when it comes to Rodgers coming back with the play calling, when Rodgers was in Green Bay, Hackett wasn't calling the plays. It was LaFleur.
That's my boy. See?
Just like Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator for Pat Mahomes. We don't have
Yes.
Andy Reid. We don't have Matt LaFleur. We have Robert Saleh, defensive-minded head coach.
Connor, speaking facts, we have not seen Nathaniel Hackett call offensive plays for Aaron Rodgers. It is entirely possible that we see a horrible offense that Rodgers at the offensive line can't even change to a good play. Like, that's entirely possible that we see that coming from the LaFleur play calling. So, Connor, any last words you want to add into here?
Well, I'm tired of Hackett's 3rd and 15 plays that are little 2-yard checkdowns to Breece Hall. Like, just take a shot.
Just let it rip. Why not? Worst thing that happens, you throw a bomb down the field and that 3rd down pass ends up being what looks like a punt at the end of the day.
Yeah. And Morstead's been punting great.
I know. It's great. Connor, thank you so much for the call. Boom! You've been ejected. I don't have my little ejection thing. For some reason, I jacked up my animation, so I got to do. Oh, there it goes.
You're out of here!
Oh, I love that damn chicken. All right. Let's move over to Lima Bean. Give me 1 second here. Lima Bean, how you doing tonight?
That was rough, man. We could all listen. We have no quarterback. That's pretty much apparent. I never thought I'd miss Zach this much. Like I just didn't. I was like, man,
right?
at least he has some sort of semblance of talent. He looks the part at the very least, to some degree. Like he could run at least, with his head cut off or something. Like even when he's running backwards, at least something's going on. Like
it feels at least athletic, and like I'm seeing an athlete out there. Like Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle are like the least athletic people that I can remember seeing.
I don't know if you watch baseball, but when I see Tim Boyle set up to pass, it reminds me of when Joey Gallo was swinging at pitches. That's literally what it reminds me of. Just seeing him just try out, then we're all screaming why is he still out there? When he threw that interception, he just put his hands in his hand warmers and just looked like a sad kid who dropped his ice cream.
He's got to know that he doesn't really belong on the same field. There's got to be some level of self-awareness.
He's like the ultimate nepo baby. It doesn't make sense over here. You can't even say it's a friendship between him and Rodgers because he barely knows Rodgers. He I forgot the New England guy, the one who's been around with Tom Brady forever, and he keeps getting called back to New England. It's at least he's been around for 10 years. We have Aaron Rodgers has a better friendship with Matt Flynn, for goodness sake. If you have to bring one of his friends, it just doesn't make sense.
Throwback name. Could you imagine?
No, but you're
not wrong. Tim Boyle was there for what? Was he there for 2 years with Hackett with the MVP seasons? He might have been.
Not even Tim. I'm sure maybe does he mow his lawn? I don't know, but my honest question is that besides quarterback, what the hell's with this running? Because Desmond Ridder, or you could say the guy for Pittsburgh. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks this year with a lot of bad passing games, but they have a run game. We don't have any Breece Hall's averaging a yard a carry, and we can't just say they're stacking the box because they're doing that with a whole bunch of other teams. Yet, Atlanta still got some push on the line. We're getting nothing. That's how they got any points, is because they're getting a run game. If we had running, in 2012, Mark Sanchez couldn't throw the ball for the life of him, and yet we still scored some points because we could run. What's going on with the running? That's my question.
We're just not getting any push up front. It definitely feels like it's all on the offensive line, and it's hard not to just point the finger at Douglas at this point. It's challenging.
But it's I don't know. I'm afraid about next year because it's I want to get my hopes up, but who's going to get injured next? We could do everything right. Who's going to get injured? We get 5,000 wide receivers, and we get the best offensive. We put in an actual brick wall in front of us.
And then Rodgers won't recover fully from the Achilles, and we're just screwed anyway.
I'm afraid that I don't know, he might get a random meteor might just hit him on the way to MetLife. It's just but honestly, what's really sinking this offense is the lack of running game. We know our quarterback's bad, but the fact that we have no push, we can't generate. It's literally 3 and out over and over and over again. And I was hearing the Green Bean stream. They're Robert Saleh doesn't care. It's I think at this point he's just I don't give a fuck anymore. That's because in the beginning when we were kind of we had that little win game streak. He was he had some juice, and he's all right, you want Tim Boyle? Let me show you what I see in Tim Boyle. He's hey, this is what you asked for. It's a little.
Dude, I mean, it definitely feels that way. It does not look good. I feel when I look at Saleh, it says yo, I'm out of answers. I've got nothing. Like, I know
It
it's
just
on the
looks
play
like-
caller. Hack's
yeah, it's
here
just
just
like
because of Rodgers.
I just wish we had Tim Boyle in 2020. We could have had Trevor Lawrence. It's just that's how good he is.
Lima Bean,
I don't know.
you've been ejected from the.
You're out of here.
He's not lying. He's not lying. It's been rough. It's been rough. We've got Scott, then Julio, then Flex coming in here on the postgame show. Douglas pops in and says, I watch now to see just how bad it can get. Dude, I have been watching. All of us have been watching. I shouldn't just say me. We've all been watching, and every year we say, well, the offense can't get worse than what we just saw. And then you get Aaron Rodgers, and you're like, it definitely cannot get worse than what we just saw. And it does. Consistently. Always wrong. Always wrong. Dude, I don't know how to express myself anymore. All right, let's head over to Scott. Scott, how are you? Oh, hold on, give me 1 second. Scott, how are you doing tonight?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. Kind of. I'm wavering, brother. I'm wavering, dude. I go to
I
work.
understand it.
Everyone's
Are you
telling
in
me,
like
"Oh, I'm
tank
so
mode
sorry."
right now, or are you like trying to see anything positive?
Oh, dude, I'm in the camp. I want to see positivity because I see mostly, I see it a lot in the NBA. I'm a big basketball fan, but I think this is just in professional sports in general. I think these players, dude, when they're in, when losing becomes numb to them, they create bad habits, right, in the future when you need them to win, and then it doesn't translate. So we've already seen it, like Garrett and Brees fumbling more this year. Even players that you used to rely on, they're slowly becoming Jets. It seems, you know what I mean? Like,
it's so true.
So I think positivity is huge, dude. We need momentum. We need it to carry into next year. There's still plenty of games left. There's still a lot of this year left. So we need some positivity in this place.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I'm not going to root for losses, but I don't want to cheer for wins with like Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian. Like those feel like hollow wins. They're not going to be here in the future. I want to see good play from the rest of the young guys, like an Izzy, like a Carter Warren. Like I thought for the most part, Carter Warren played all right, aside from like whiffing real hard on one of the blocks. I'd have to go back and see where that ended up shaking out. But you got to think that, you know, I don't know. It's just, you got to see some positivity. The defense is playing lights out. Like, can they maintain it for another year? You've had 2 years of elite defense. It's tough to do the same thing over and over again.
It's tough, man. I'm having this real come to Jesus moment. You know, my last week, there's a Chargers game actually. We were down the Chargers game. My wife looks at me and she's like, "Why do you put yourself through this?" I go to work, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'm just like, "Dude, like, are we just like stupid? I don't know what to do anymore."
Dude, we just like the punishment. We like the pain at this point because it's unreal how we consistently trot out terrible quarterback or terrible offensive coordinator after terrible regime after whatever, and we just can't get it right. Like, how is football this hard when they've worked so hard to make the rules so easy?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this is what you get when you have Nathaniel Hackenberg at coordinator, and
Nathaniel Hackenberg. That has got to be the best
I don't know.
nickname I've heard for Nathaniel Hackett so far. So thank
It's
you
bad,
so
man.
much, Scott.
All right, peace and love, guys.
Boom! You are ejected from the cockpit. All right, let's head over to Julio. Julio, how you doing today, brother?
Doing today, man.
Dude, it's rough.
I just told my wife we was gonna win the next 3 games.
Starting after this game.
No, like I actually put. Hey. I say, babe, Aaron Rodgers coming back and with the Commanders. I said, we're gonna win these next 3 games. I just got this feeling. What happened? Boom. And my wife, she's an Eagle fan.
Oh, so you had that one little zing, and then everything else has just been no.
No. Like, come on. This is impossible.
Can't keep happening like this. It's genuinely shocking how bad the offense can be week in and week out, year over year.
Yeah, it is the offense line. It's not even the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be in order in my head. I think I go O-line, Hackett, and then probably I would say quarterback's probably third. I think there's enough wide receivers and tight ends getting open that we should be able to move the ball down the field. But man, it's ugly. Like across the board. How do you fix this in one offseason?
Man, whew, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I tell you, if we don't fix this offensive line, we're going to be in next year.
Oh, dude, it's going to be so bad. If you have to. You got to invest every dollar you have into just pumping stuff into the offense. I want the best wide receiver you can get on the market. I don't care if this person doesn't want to be wide receiver 2. He's going to be wide receiver 2 to Garrett Wilson, or Garrett Wilson can be an elite wide receiver 2. I don't care. Just give me the best wide receiver to go next to Garrett Wilson.
And then, what killing me? Why are you throwing to Conklin when...
No, on the other side, you got Garrett. I like Conklin. I think Conklin should be receiver 2 if you're not going to go to Brees.
Yeah.
But you got to go to Garrett, especially in pressure situations. Yeah. One-on-one. Trust the dude.
Yeah, he was free. I'm looking, I said, for real? You can't see him? And my wife told me, it's probably different when he's on the field. He probably can't see him. If Jalen Hurts can see Brown, he can see everybody else. Come on. Siemian can see that.
I don't know how tall Hurts is. He's got 6 foot, maybe 6'1", if that. And you got to think Siemian and Boyle are taller than that. They got to be able to see over these big old fatties on the offensive line. Yeah, I don't even care. If you just see, pre-snap, you got Garrett Wilson one-on-one on the sideline. Exactly. Along the edge. Okay, read one. I'm going to look that way first, and then I'm going to come back to Garrett because I know he's one-on-one. Fake it. I don't care. I don't need to know you're reading a defense. Just pretend to read the defense so the defense doesn't jump everything.
It kills me. It kills me every time. My blood pressure go up every time.
Ugh, dude, you can't let it get to you. You can't let it get to you at this point. It's just going to drive you bonkers.
I just bought the belt, the New York Jets belt. Should be coming in soon, and I'm like, yes, Julio's back. Savage Julio's back. I'm going to have that belt. Get good luck. The football gods just don't love us right now.
No, dude, dude, we'll get something figured out. Julio, thank you so much for the call. Boom! You're out of here! Chicken across the screen. Good to have you in here, Julio. Let's go over to Flex Hayes. Flex Hayes, how you doing, brother?
My man, what's going on with you?
Dude, I'm trying to stay optimistic about this damn Jets team, and it's hard to do that with what we see on the field every week. How are you doing?
Service.
Oh, sorry. I think it's going now.
Yeah, I'm back. But I heard you saying you're trying to stay optimistic, man. I feel like I'm the most positive Jets fan I know, man. Honestly. And I'm tired of it right now. I'm tired of it right now. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. It's annoying. For me personally, since last October, I don't remember what game it was, but I'm I realized Zach Wilson was terrible and it wasn't going to work. So I'm I got a feeling we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. I see how everything is going in Green Bay, and he always got. I knew he was going to get him. I put it out there in the universe, and we got him. And then now look what happens in the first. Come on, it's we can't have nice things. It's nothing. It's nothing go good for Jets fans, man. We're going out there the last 2 years.
Flex, I'm catching every other word. I'm going to eject you, but man, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Flex was right. It feels like we can't have nice things. Flex, if you want to call back in, if you got some better service. I don't know if you're on Wi-Fi or if maybe it's just cell service or something. Sometimes this conferencing program gives me some trouble. Man, it's frustrating. I saw the colors too. He's a Knicks fan. He's Knicks and Jets. He's used to the pain and the punishment. Flacco is in with Cleveland. Apparently, Flacco already threw a touchdown. Is that the first touchdown by a even former Jets quarterback since the last time the Jets have had a touchdown? It probably is. That is not good. Not good. Hate everyone. Joe S. says, it's Zach's fault that Tim Boyle can't play the position. Joe S. I do want to see Zach Wilson again. I'll be honest. Make it interesting. Or even maybe don't see Zach Wilson the rest of the year, so maybe you feel more optimistic about Zach by seeing all these other trash quarterbacks play, and then he winds up sitting as QB3. I don't know. I feel like the biggest winner of these past 2 weeks has been Zach Wilson because of how poorly the other quarterbacks have played. In retrospect, like, it's hard to play worse than what we were seeing. I mean, from Zach, for sure. But I feel like Siemian and Boyle have been worse. Scrooge says, Boyle is a drinking buddy of Aaron. He gets the nod. So I don't understand the Boyle stuff at all. I can't comment. Unconscious Zone says, you don't make it back to back championship games in spite of your quarterback, the more you know. Talking about Mark Sanchez, I guess. Still stink. Joe S. says, if Daboll was coaching the Jets, it would be a different story. I'm sorry, he's done more with less talented team than Saleh. I think it's probably on different sides of the ball because Daboll clearly oversees the offensive side. And he's been on so many winning organizations. He went from New England to Alabama to Buffalo, and he's had success with all of them. That was why he was my number one coaching candidate coming out of the Robert Saleh year. But he wound up staying in Buffalo an additional year. So we never actually had the opportunity to interview Brian Daboll. I'll be honest, I like what we've gotten out of the defensive side of Robert Saleh. I think with a good quarterback and a better offensive line, especially a quarterback that can change the play calls and everything, and you're not going to see, Hackett necessarily screw it up all the time. I think we'd all like it, a little bit better than what we're currently seeing right now. It's brutal. Absolutely brutal. What else you guys talking about in here? Rashad says, the offense has quit on the team. The GM has left this season with bad decision for 2 years now. Why is Tim Boyle on the team? It's time for a change. Now Rodgers is not the answer for next year. Rodgers is still the answer for next year. I'm not moving on with another quarterback. Like, it's not like you're going to convince me to bring in like a Kirk Cousins or draft a young quarterback in the first round. Like, if we're bringing in Aaron Rodgers for next year, which we 110% are, go all in for a Super Bowl. Go all in. Draft a high upside quarterback if you want. Throw Zach as quarterback 3. It won't matter. It won't matter either way. You need a good backup quarterback. Fix the offensive line. Fix the wide receivers. This team can win a lot of games. I'm not giving up on them. This year, though, it's okay to give up on them. The White Sox Jet says Flacco going to torch the Jets. If he's already got a touchdown, that's not a good look for us. Not a good look for us. Kilopatra says, feels like Saleh is very frustrated at some throws Boyle was missing. We really shouldn't see him again. It sounds like he was frustrated with both guys. He mentioned the Boyle wasn't getting it done. And then on the other side with Siemian, he would have liked to have seen us have the toss-up look to Garrett instead of the Tyler Conklin throw. So he made some comments regarding both quarterbacks in his post-game presser. Ant Jet says, we have one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. How is our defense good? I think it's because we just can't get a lead. Like, as much as we are one of the worst rushing teams, it's because other teams are trying to just run out the clock on us. If we just don't get opportunities on offense and teams can literally score 7 points, although I guess they need 9 points today. But like, our offense only led 6 points. Only led 6 points. When you look at what the Jets defense did, Jets defense got us 2 and gave us more opportunities than that. It's absolutely brutal. Jason Edwards comes in and says, higher first-round pick and a Super Bowl chip in 2024. Go Jets. See, Jason's optimistic, right? We're going for the draft pick right now, and then we're going to look towards the Super Bowl. It's all about building for next year. All right, let's bring in Jetsman87. Jetsman, how you doing today?
I'm tired, Ryan. I'm tired, man.
Frustrated?
I'm frustrated. I could have been wrapping Christmas presents today. I'm telling you what. It's the point now. We're just gift wrapping wins in the month of December for other teams. It's a curse, man. We can't do anything.
Dude, now are you on board for like the tank, or do you want to see like as many wins as possible? Where do you sort of fall?
I just want some respect. My God, it's the point now. It's laughable.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see.
That's my whole thing each week is like, I just want to be entertained. Give me something to watch.
Right. And I'm sitting here for 3 hours watching the game, and I'm like, my wife's behind me is like, how can you be watching this stuff anymore? And I'm like, because I'm diehard. What am I supposed to do at this point?
It's people who aren't diehard fans don't understand the like what happens in the mindset of a fan, because we know when it eventually turns around, because it has to happen at some point.
There's no way to go but up at this point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like it's going to be so much sweeter at the very end. Like, you can't tell me any of you diehard fans are like, screw that, I'm changing teams at this point. No, we're stuck together. Misery loves company.
Yep. Absolutely.
I thought the switch to Siemian from Boyle was a good move in this game. I think they had an opportunity to win it if Siemian was able to string together some throws. It just didn't work out, and I think Robert Saleh, if you watch the post-game presser, looks frustrated.
I don't think it was just that. I think everybody's just had enough, really, completely. They're down in the doldrums with all the issues that's been going on, and it's come to a head at this point.
I agree. I think I give the defense a lot of credit for not mailing it in, because there's a very easy way for them to come in and just say, I'm protecting myself for next season. I'm not going to lay my whole body out on the line. I mean, heck, Perrion Winfrey may be done. What looks like, I mean, it looks like he's done for the year this year, but like those types of injuries, like God forbid you lose one of Jermaine Johnson or Sauce or Brees or Garrett to a devastating injury. I can completely understand if guys decide to start like taking their foot off the gas to preserve their own.
I get it. I understand.
Frustrated. Now, what do you want to see? Like I don't want to say the rest of the way out, but do you think we should go back to Zach at some point?
I think you have to. I don't want to keep playing, hopscotch quarterback and trying and fill the position just to do it at this point. I agree with Saleh in the press conference that there's players that they're just not pulling. They're not doing what they need to do. That one hit that Siemian took that from the blind side, I mean, Becton just completely lost that block.
Oh, yeah. This has been a consistent thing with Becton. Like, as much as people want to see Becton retained, like, I'm not going to lie, every week I'm watching him get blown up. Not all the time. Like, I think he's like, I would say the average of our O-line. I don't think he's the best, and I don't think he's like the biggest problem. But definitely like not worth a franchise tag. I'm fine with letting him test the market and trying to bring him back for a reduced rate. I would save that franchise tag for Bryce Huff. I think we're going to need it. I think
that guy's an animal. Trust me.
I don't think we're going to get to re-sign him, unfortunately. I think it's going to be franchise tag and let him play on that 1-year deal.
Yeah, but I love to see him play. Trust me, man. Anything
else before I eject you?
No, just if I don't talk to you, have a Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thank you.
All right, man.
I appreciate you. Take it easy. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Cockpit. Blitz Crew says, after the safety, thought 3-2 score was happening. Dude, so we talked about it in the pregame show. Blitz Crew was there for that. And then I talked about it on the not Talking Jets, what's it called? The Jets roundtable over on the AFC East roundtable. I was like, one of the people said 3-2 score. I was like, I could see that happening. And as soon as we got the damn safety, I had to tweet out. I was like, there's no way this game is going to end 3-2 with the Falcons winning it. I was like, this is really going to happen, isn't it? And then Falcons ended up scoring a touchdown, so it wound up not being the case. But man, that would have been a funny way to finish that. That really would have been a funny way to finish that, Blitz Crew. Let's see. Ant Jets is in the chat. He says, Flacco to Moore, and that's New York Jets. Oops. Cleveland Brown, first down. Man, that's rough. It does suck that we lost Elijah Moore. I feel like he's talented, but I understand the point of jettisoning him out. Jimmy DeCaro says, do we pick top 5 chat? So I have been predicting the number 7 pick when it's all said and done. I think we're going to win one more game the rest of the way out, and I think that's where we'll end up finishing. I think it's entirely possible. If you can get a top 5 pick, you're going to be feeling real good about yourself, because that means you're going to get one of the top 2 tackles or Marvin Harrison Jr. You get one of those 3, that is a win. That is a big win. If you get the 6th pick, then you might miss out on all 3 of those players, but you might be able to trade out for that 3rd quarterback if someone rises enough. Does Jaden Daniels become that third guy off the board? Is Michael Penix Jr., is he good enough to justify a quarterback trade up for other teams? I would love the top 5 pick. I really would. It'd be nice. I'm not going to actively root for it, but it's something I can at least be optimistic about moving forward. Because I've got a bunch of different content-related things we can do. Do you take the generational wide receiver for your generational quarterback to have a generational 1-2 punch with Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Would be wild. But if you're sitting at number 5, that means you're probably behind both Bears picks. That's concerning. You want the Bears to win as many games as possible, so that way they drop further and further back. Now, if they decide to roll with Justin Fields, then maybe they make the selection of Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1. Or they trade down just 1 or 2 picks to still be able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know. Offensive line, to me, feels like the position I really want to go in. So I kind of hope Marvin Harrison Jr. goes a little bit ahead of us. But, man, I definitely think top 5 is entirely possible. Joe S. says, this was a terrible offseason with Joe Douglas, so what makes you think next year would be any different? I think you do what you didn't do this last offseason. It's get the backup quarterback. It's add more to the offensive line. You tried to do that with the offensive line, but you didn't have the quarterback yet. That's what I was saying about the whole trade for Aaron Rodgers. The trade for Aaron Rodgers needed to happen by free agency because you needed the benefit of having the quarterback here. And if not, you should have waited till after the draft. Because at the very least, you could have at least drafted the tackle in the top of the draft. And if you didn't want him, then at least you would have had the option to turn it down. And then you have an extra, 3rd round pick this year? Or 2nd round pick this year? I don't know. It's frustrating. But I think everyone's back. Joe Douglas did have a terrible offseason. And I think he's the most to blame of anyone from what I'm seeing right now. Like, I can't really blame Robert Saleh for playing Zach Wilson. After seeing Siemian and Boyle play, I think Saleh did the right thing playing Zach Wilson. Joe S. says, who are we beating besides the Pats? I think it's only going to be the Pats. I don't think we beat the Browns. I don't think we beat the Commanders. I don't think we beat the Dolphins. The Texans, it's going to depend on how Davis Mills looks, what are the injuries to Tank Dell and CJ Stroud? Are they going to come back for next week? I think that's the only thing that I would look at, because maybe you have an off chance at winning against Houston next week because of their injuries more so than our own. But if we're starting Siemian or Boyle, I don't know if it's necessarily better. Cody says, Jets players getting accustomed to losing. Yeah, all those stud players that we drafted that were all from winning organizations are all like, this is what Jets football is all about, isn't it? They didn't know how to lose prior to the 2 years that they've spent with the New York Jets. It's sad. Sad. Evan says, Ryan, I'm going to tell you what I tell my mommy. Make the pain go away. I need someone to kiss me. I need someone to kiss me and make the boo-boo go away. Shay, can you kiss my boo-boo? my head. Why am I a Jets fan? Oh, man. It's rough. Flex Hayes says, I'd prefer offensive line, but I wouldn't be mad at Marvin Harrison Jr. at all. Just would suck if our O-line is terrible and the quarterback can't get him the ball. Jets got to build inside out, though. So I do agree. I see where you're coming from with that. And that's the argument against wide receiver early if you don't love the evaluation talent of our GM for offensive linemen, because maybe you want the best surefire offensive lineman. But I think you should be able to build an offensive line without having to devote so many first-round picks to. So I think in free agency, what you do, you try to stock the cupboard with everything you can so you have at least the opportunity to maybe take a Marvin Harrison Jr., or it at least hides the obviousness of needing a tackle. I could tell you all draft last year. It's like, well, we've telegraphed that we need an offensive tackle because we didn't draft anyone or we didn't sign anyone prior to the draft. So any team picking behind us that's like, oh, okay, what team could be looking for a tackle? Clearly the Jets. Clearly the Jets. Charles M. says, Jaden Daniels. I really like Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in this draft coming up. But do you pull the trigger on him? Because you're going to have to take him in the top 10. I have not gotten there yet. I don't think I would do that you'd have to have some immaculate offensive offseason prior to the draft for me to really want to consider quarterback in the first round. I feel like with Rodgers here, you just got to go all in on trying to win with him, and draft picks for the now are so much more than draft picks for the future right now. Rich wants to go with a third-round quarterback. I'd be okay with a third-round quarterback. I think it depends who falls. If not, I would go offensive line in the first round, wide receiver in the third round, and then you have 2 fourth-round picks. So then at that point, I would probably go guard like Zach Zinter. He might fall now that he's got the injury. I think he's supposed to be ready by the combine, though, is what I thought I saw. And then I would go quarterback in the fourth then. I think third or fourth round is totally acceptable, pending who's available for the New York Jets pick. And I feel like that's less threatening to Aaron Rodgers, where you're not necessarily going to like say, what the hell? Or maybe you want to piss him off. Maybe you want to piss off Aaron Rodgers so much that he just has an MVP caliber season. Maybe the Packers did it the right way. Phil Adams says, need to be top 3 to get Harrison. I would agree. What I was saying was if you're top 5, you're guaranteed one of Harrison or the 2 offensive tackles. And I think it kind of depends on how the draft sort of goes and where the Bears... Actually, I think the Bears are the team that are most likely to take Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe an outside shot at the Cardinals if they decide to roll with Kyler, but I feel like they should move Kyler and take the quarterback if they're sitting so high. Wild Wave says, do you bring an offensive-minded guy like Frank Reich to work with Hackett like an interim? Yes, Wild Wave, I completely would endorse that. I would bring in Frank Reich to work with whatever quarterback he deems good or better. Like, hey, if you see a guy in the draft or if you see Zach Wilson, because you don't have to like decline Zach's 5th-year option until after the draft. Not that you're not going to accept it anyway, but I think I would decide on that third quarterback after the draft once you know who falls to your picks. I would still bring in a backup, but I would love Frank Reich here. Because if you have him, then at the very least you have an offensive-minded guy who's been a head coach that can step in the event you do want to pull the plug on someone. Like, let's say you needed to move off Saleh next year at some point. Having Reich here and then having Ulbrich run the defense, not the worst scenario. Not the worst scenario. I would like to bring in some sort of offensive mind. I don't know if Frank Reich would want to do that. He is getting paid by the Panthers for the next 4 or 5 years to not do anything. So it's hard to really say he may want to do that. I see Carson on the line. I'm going to get to Carson in just a second. Harlan says, Ryan, in a lot of mock drafts I have done, you could get Pratt or Beck in the 4th round. So I'll need to do more research on the quarterbacks. I don't know enough of the quarterbacks to go that far into the 3rd and 4th round. I know the top 6 or 7 reasonably well, not enough to really pencil in where I think they're going to go. But in my little bit of reconnaissance, Jaden Daniels is the one that I find to be the most intriguing of the quarterbacks. All right, let's hop over to Carson. What's up, Carson? How you doing today?
What's going on, Ryan? What did you think of the game today?
I thought it was more exciting because we got to see Trevor Siemian at some point, but I think watching this game and last week makes me feel like Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh. I mean, Zach Wilson's the best quarterback on this team, and Robert Saleh made the correct decision
Agreed.
playing him. That's how I feel watching these last 2 games.
Well, that conversation we were having the other night during the Washington and Oregon game is becoming more prominent. Where I talked about a hypothetical scenario about top 3, man. It's in range. It is. I believe did the Cardinals win today?
So let me take a look. I have not kept my eye on the rest of the league. So Cardinals did win today. They're 3-10.
Okay.
Jets are sitting at the 7 pick right now because the Giants' strength of schedule is weaker, but we are tied with the Giants, the Bears, and the Commanders. The Commanders have one more loss than we have, but we would move in front of them and they would fall behind us with the same amount of losses. So we could be looking at pick 6 right now, potentially, once all the games are balanced out.
Listen, top three is possible, man. It's becoming more and more of a reality every single day we move on. Every week we move on, and top three is possible. And if we get top three, I think the Jets fan base is going to be completely torn between, Marvin Harrison and a quarterback. I mean, how do you not, if you're top three and a quarterback's there, one of May or Williams, how do you not draft one of them and place him behind Rodgers for whatever, the 2 years that he's here? How is that not, that's so tempting. How do you not do it?
I think it's really tempting, and I think you'd have to talk to enough scouts to know who the majority of coaches would feel comfortable with, because I think there's entirely a situation where if Rodgers does not come back, that you, or even partway through the season, may have to fire the whole regime. And you want to know that the quarterback that you're taking is someone that is attractive to another head coach. Like, you got to see that with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert had Anthony Lynn as his head coach initially, and then they moved off of him for Staley. Like, that's the type of situation. Not obviously, I don't want someone like Staley, but I like, I want someone that you can at least want to have to build around. I guess they did that with McDaniel too down in Miami. Like Tua, he didn't draft him. So maybe that is the right way to go. I just feel like offensive line or trade down at that point. I don't know.
If we're top three, and Drake May is sitting there on draft night at number 3, okay, which I have him as my number 1 quarterback in this draft because I don't think Caleb is built for New York. He's just too diva-ish for me. That's just me. You're telling me that you think that the Jets regime would pass on May if he's there because of the
I think you'd
cloudiness of the regime?
No. I don't. No. I think me as a fan, I would want to see that. I think there's.
Oh,
I think
you
there's
as a
enough.
fan. Okay.
Yeah, I think the regime itself is going to back Rodgers. So I don't think they're going to take a quarterback in the top 3. I think at that point they're either taking the offensive lineman or they're going to trade down a slot or two. I don't think they'll take the quarterback.
I can't pass on Drake May if he's there. I'm sorry. You can't.
I'm excited to watch more tape on it. I don't see the. I mean, maybe there's a shot that they just fire everyone if we get a top 3 pick, and then that new regime takes their quarterback. Like, I could see that. Like, they could call Rodgers bluff and say, you're not, retiring with $50 million on the table or whatever it is.
If Caleb Williams isn't in this draft, he's the number 1 pick. Drake May,
you're saying?
Hands down.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I think Caleb Williams and May are both worthy going 1-2. I just don't. I would be surprised. I don't think we're going to get a top 3 pick. I think we're going to sit. I've been saying pick 7 is where I think we'll end up. I think there's a good chance we could get to top 5, though, based on what some of these other teams are doing in front of us and how we currently look. And I would be very much in favor of. I'm hoping the offensive lineman falls to us. I hope it's Fashanu or Alt, either one of those guys. If you run into a situation where you're sitting at like 6 or 7 and all 3 of those top 3 are off the board, and God forbid a third quarterback off the board in front of you, I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
Are we going Bowers? We were talking that the other night, right?
Well, listen. I don't know how much of the college football games you watched. Well, we watched Oregon, Washington together.
Yeah, but I did watch the Alabama, Georgia game as well.
You could so you saw how elusive and electric Brock Bowers is. You could see it.
I understand why people like him. And if you were saying we need to put the best player around Aaron Rodgers on the offensive side of the ball and the top 2 tackles are off the board. Now, I do want to do more research on the Oregon State tackle. I would say I'm out on the Georgia tackle. I heard some comment made that he's been out a few different times. He's also on the right-hand side. Not that that necessarily knocks him at all. J.C. Latham I thought was all right, but he's again in that second tier. Like, I think Alt and Fashanu are clearly the 2 best offensive linemen. Marvin Harrison Jr. clearly the top wide receiver. Then I probably go down to like, is it Brock Bowers? Is it? I think Neighbors is not the right size profile that I'd like to see, but. If he's a Garrett Wilson clone, are you going to be upset?
In terms of skill positions, in terms of skill positions, it's MHJ Bowers, and then Neighbors is a close third. That's just my board. That's my board.
That's what it looks like. A lot of people have. Yeah, I see Keon Coleman up there for a lot of people as well. He's somewhere around, like, Tankathon has him going 15 to the Bengals, replacing T. Higgins on their side. I could be open to Neighbors.
I don't think we trade down.
You don't think we trade down?
We trade down. No, so because Joe Douglas, just based off of his history, like him identifying talent and the type of player that he looks for, At the top of this draft, this is one of the most loaded college drafts or NFL drafts coming up in terms of blue chip talent, in my opinion, in a long time. If you have I'd say a top 6 pick, you can't trade down unless you get blown away. You can't, because you're going to get
I feel like
Drake May,
let's.
Williams.
I was going to say, let's see. In this mock draft, they got Williams and May going 1-2 to the Bears and to the Patriots. The Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Cardinals. They have Olu Fashanu and Alt going next, 1 to Washington, 1 to the Bears, and then Giants take Neighbors, Jets take Bowers. If that's the case, they have Jaden Daniels still going to the Bucs at 9. I think I would look to
Bowers
see
ain't
what
making
you
it to
could.
9.
No. I know. Maybe he goes 8 if you trade down the 2 slots. But what I'm saying is I would look and see how much you can get for a trade down for the third quarterback at that point before pulling the trigger on Bowers. If you were stuck with the pick, I understand the selection at that point. I don't love tight end
the
in
blue
the first
chippers
round.
for me. Yeah, the blue chippers for me are May, Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bowers, both tackles, Neighbors, and Latu from UCLA. So you got 9 blue chippers in this first. That's my opinion. It's just my opinion. But you just can't trade especially this year. You can't. You cannot trade a top 5 pick. If they fall top 5, you cannot move down. These players,
you get the blue at top 5. You're going to get one of the offensive linemen or the receiver. Like I 100% agree with that. Top 6. I think it depends how far you would go down and who's behind you. It depends what that third quarterback's worth. Because I think Joe Douglas would rather have a middling, I shouldn't say middling, but like maybe the Oregon State tackle winds up being a good dude, or J.C. Latham is a good tackle. Like he may value one of those tackles plus the addition of a second-round pick and maybe the addition of a first-round pick next year. Like if you could get me another first next year and get me the tackle, I might be all right with a trade down in that situation. So it depends how big of a gap there is.
So you said we'd fall 7th. If realistically, if the scenario falls where we fall top 5.
Yeah.
So say we fall top 5 and say we were talking about like 3rd, 4th, because I think 4th is a realistic possibility. I think 4 is there. Say we fall 4, okay? Because 3 is a jump, but if say we fall 4, right? If by some godforsaken reason Marvin Harrison Jr. is either there, if we're at 3 or 4, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there at 3 or 4, you're passing on him to take the tackle?
No, not necessarily. Marvin Harrison Jr. and both tackles are kind of right now even on my board. I think it depends how you handle free agency, but you'll know what pick you have going into free agency. So you can kind of, to some degree, structure it accordingly. Like we're going to go after tackles in the draft or in free agency for sure. I really think Bakhtiari is going to end up being a New York Jet. I think we're trying to fill out another tackle. Like if you can give me Bakhtiari and like, a right tackle, call it, maybe you get the guard from Miami or
You're out on Becton?
I'm okay with letting Becton test the waters. And I think when you look at Becton and you look at Bakhtiari, I think whichever one Rodgers prefers will be here. And I think the conversation I saw from, I think it was Boy Green that might have posted it, Aaron Rodgers and Becton's mom talking, it seems like Rodgers really likes Becton. So maybe there's a situation where Becton decides to take a 1-year prove-it deal on the cheap to stay here with Rodgers to have a good season. And in that case, I'm all right
swing him
with
out to right? And swing him out to right tackle?
Becton would be left tackle. I would take Becton as left tackle. I still would bring in another free agent tackle, though. And if that's Jonah Williams, I would love to bring him in as right tackle. But then it opens the door, I think, for Marvin Harrison Jr. instead of the tackles in the top part of the draft. And then you wind up looking at a tackle either in a trade down situation or maybe a little bit later. I think it depends how they feel about Carter
Warren.
Saying, I don't love relying on Becton,
you think it's either Becton or Bakhtiari at left, but not both?
I would be surprised. I mean, maybe they go Becton, right tackle, Bakhtiari, left tackle, because that'll be cheaper. 2 guys that Rodgers does like and have reports with, and then draft a top tackle in the draft. I would be all for that too. Like, I just don't think you can go into next season with Bakhtiari and Becton penciled in as your 2 starting tackles because you now run the risk of having the same exact situation you have this year. That's something I do not.
Then why not swing then why not swing AVT to right tackle and then draft a guard or sign a guard?
You could do that too. I'm on board with that. I don't think Bakhtiari or Becton should be relied upon to be the be all end all for tackle in either capacity. So if you wanted to say, let's say we're going to move AVT to right tackle, maybe you can get the guard from Miami. He's really good. I feel like he'd want to stay there, but if you could steal someone from a division rival, I do like that.
Yeah.
Then you have a situation where maybe you can bring back like a McGovern as like the veteran guard, backup center type situation.
Okay.
I'm open. I'm like those three, Marvin Harrison Jr., Fashanu, and Alt are the three that are really capturing my eye right now. And I'm open as to
that's
what
in the top 5 though.
Sure.
That's in the top 5 though. So outside the top 5, you're okay with taking Bowers outside the top 5?
I don't know. I'd probably consider trade down before Bowers, but I have to watch more of Bowers. I'll be honest. I've really only watched the Georgia-Alabama game with him to feel comfortable. Tight end usually in the first round is not generally a high return pick. But if you deem he's the best pro ready, I was going to say if he's pro ready right now and you think he can help you win right now with Rodgers, I'm okay with that because I think Rodgers does like his tight ends, so I can live with that.
The only question I have with Bowers is Bowers at Georgia has a little bit of the injury bug. He does tend to get injured from time to time. He dealt with, I believe it was an ankle or knee this year. So he's been on the shelf. He's been playing with an injury this entire year.
So he has 714 yards and 6 touchdowns with however much time he's played this year.
He missed 4 games.
Holy shit. He's got 700 yards missing that many games.
Yeah, he missed 4 games.
I don't want anyone injury prone. Like, that shit scares me. Not that he's necessarily injury prone, but like if you can tell me that Fashanu or Alt, I don't know what their injury history is right now, but if you could tell me one of those two guys and they're going to just plug in like a Debrekashaw for the next 10 years, that's the pick for me.
In terms of positional value, it makes sense. But as Jets fans,
also for your entire regime moving forward, like if you want a pick that is regime safe, regardless of what happens next year, the offensive lineman's the pick for the now and the pick for the future. With Bowers, I feel like there are certain offenses that don't utilize the tight end quite as much, but maybe he's good enough.
So you're saying that pick would be you're saying the safe pick would be the tackle. The tight end is more of scheme-based, but it depends on how safe the regime is, which I think it's pretty safe.
I think the regime is safe for next year. I don't think they're safe for 2025 and beyond. I think the tackle for me, the tackle can be like a 10-year, like you need a tackle. You need, like, I understand you needing a tight end, but like, I feel like you can get good tight ends in the 2nd through 4th round. Consistently in most drafts. Like, would a good tight end in a different round be the better option with an elite tackle versus not sure tackle versus an elite tight end? Like, that's where I fall as far as positional value goes.
The Jets just need another pass catcher. They need another elite pass catcher, and Bowers is that outside of Marvin Harrison. Like outside,
his size and the red zone threat, I think is what's interesting.
Like outside of the receiving class this year, Bowers is your next best pass catcher in terms of skill position. He reminds me like of his sleekness and his wiggle and his route running ability and his hands. He reminds me a lot of Mark Andrews, just like a slimmer Mark Andrews.
Okay.
Like I said, you have to like. When you study Bowers and you do your notes on Bowers, watch his game, and you're gonna be like, okay, now I see the hype. Now I see why everyone's like, this guy is nuts. Like he's electric. Like you'll see it automatically in the first minute. You'll see it. I think the Jets need to address pass catcher. It's pass catcher is a big deal. Outside of Garrett, this team's horrendous.
I think we can do it in free agency, though. That's my thing. Like, I would love T. Higgins because then that gives you a wide receiver that you can pair with Garrett for the next 4 or 5 years. But Mike Evans, I think, is I feel like we're going to go Devontae Adams, and I don't want to trade a pick for Devontae Adams right now. But
Devontae's so good, Ryan.
He's so good. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I guess if you're going to
It's
get,
his
if you're
age
going,
for
if you're
me.
willing to take a 3rd round wide receiver, and the Raiders are willing to accept a 3rd round pick for Devontae, I think that's fine. If you want to do a 3rd round pick and conditional in 2025, that's fine. But if it has to be a 1st round pick, I mean, it won't be a top 5 pick. Like if we
No,
land
our
in the
pick
top
will
5,
be
we'll do
top.
that.
Our pick's going to be top 10. So
Well,
we're
for
not
sure.
trading
But what
that
I'm
pick
saying
for
is
Devontae
like,
Adams.
no, I agree. But if there's a situation right now, the Raiders are sitting at 11. If the Jets get into the top 4, top 5, maybe there's a situation where they trade down with the Raiders so they can get their quarterback. We get Devontae Adams, and now we're back sitting at 11, making our pick of the 3rd tackle. Like that's one I can live with.
See, I think. See,
Especially if
outside
you
of
get a
May
pick
and
next
Williams, they're going to be able to get their quarterback at 11. They'll be able to get their quarterback at 11. Penix and Jaden Daniels, I think, will be there.
I don't know. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to scream up draft boards. I think once they get him into the combine, I think people are going to be wowed by him.
He's going to be electric in the combine, yeah.
I think he it wouldn't shock me if he was like top 5 or top 6. Probably top 6 after the tackles.
Quarterbacks are a premium.
They are.
Tend to
That's
move
why
up.
I'm saying
Do you
like a
remember what
trade
happened?
down a pick or two might not be terrible. It depends who's sitting
Like,
there for us.
Quarterbacks tend to move up the board the closer we get to the draft, and teams that are desperate that need a rookie quarterback or a quarterback to follow. I mean,
You're looking the Bucks.
their value is there.
The Raiders. So Bucks, Raiders, to some degree, the Packers, maybe, depending on how they feel about Love at the end of the season. I feel like he looks good enough.
Giants.
Not
Giants?
Giants, yes. Giants are ahead of us right now, but yes, Giants could do that. I think the Giants, I could see wide receiver, or maybe they think Jaden Daniels could be their, Jalen Hurts.
I think they're
for them.
O-line. I think they're O-line.
They just spent the 1st round pick in the Becton year to get Andrew Thomas. They spent a 1st round pick 2 years ago to get Evan Neal. He looks booty cheeks, by the way. He looks terrible. So maybe they move him into guard.
I think they swing him inside.
I think
they
that's
go
a smarter
inside
move.
with Neal.
For them, man, that would suck to burn another top pick on an offensive lineman. I feel like wide receiver for them, because of where their offense was at, they had so many injuries this year. I think that was more so their I don't know. I guess it depends who they get in free agency.
Right now we can only project in terms of like where we are in the season because this draft board is going to move the next 5 weeks so much.
Sure. Yeah.
We can only kind of project the positional, like where teams are going to go positionally. And obviously that's going to change with free agency because those teams may address those positions in free agency. But for like the top teams, like I think the top 5 or even the top 3, you can kind of like, you could make it a fair assumption like what they're going to do. Like if Chicago's going to stay at 1 because of the Panthers. The Panthers are garbage. They're horrific.
Do you think there's any way the Bears don't roll with, or do you think there's a possibility they roll with Fields moving forward and don't take a quarterback at 1 and either trade out or take a Marvin Harrison Jr.?
That's
crazy.
That's the discussion to be had.
It is. That changes the entire draft. Like, let's say the Giants are like, hey, we got 2 second-round picks. Like, let's go up to number 1. Let's get our quarterback in front of the Patriots.
Yeah.
Daboll wants to jump in front of that Patriot team that he was, not in line to coach for, but he was, an offensive
if Chicago
coach there.
goes Marvin, if Chicago, which I don't think anyone will have a problem if Chicago goes Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1. I wouldn't have no one was going to have a problem with that.
There's so much value in trading that pick, but at the same time, you'd have to trade it to like the Cardinals or like
Williams
whoever's at 4
and
to
May.
have a shot.
If one of Williams or May are available at 3, the draft is going to turn frantic. It's going to turn into a frenzy.
That pick's going to be so valuable.
That's if now. I just think the way that Chicago, because I think Eberflus, the head coach of Chicago, I think he's going to be there next year. Because I think they're building and building and building. And I think Fields is his guy. Oh, dude, that's so tough.
Right.
It just depends on the value you get for Fields, too. If you shop him.
So I think let's get back to that conversation 1 second. I just want to acknowledge Mumtaz's super chat here. Thank you so much for the super chat, Mumtaz.
Yeah.
He says, after watching Jets for decades, fans always demand skill position while our offensive line gets us killed. If this offseason we don't add 3 quality offensive linemen, then our front office is not smart. Even Pitts is not worth a top 5 pick. So I would agree Pitts is not worth a top 5 pick based on what we've seen in the NFL. And I would say Brock Bowers, I think most people would argue, is not a top 5 pick right now, at least for the Jets. Like, because you're talking the 2 tackles, the wide receiver, and then 2 quarterbacks. So those 5 players should be the first 5 off the board, in my opinion. And I would trade out if I were the Jets and I was not taking one of those. But I definitely tend to lean offensive line for sure. The whole Bears thing is fascinating because I think if they roll with a Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1, that means the Patriots get their choice of May or Williams. And then 3 is likely a trade out, I would think. And you would think the Giants would be trying like hell to move up. I think the Giants would be smart to call the Bears and realize like we'll give up this year's first, next year's first, and our 2 seconds to get up to 1. And that's what they should do.
So to your point and to Mumtaz's point, if the Bears go Marvin at 1, Arizona stays at 2, which would mean that New England would have to win a game again because I think New England's second now.
New England's at 2 right now. They have 2 wins. Cardinals have 3. Cardinals are sitting at 3 right now. Then it's Washington, Chicago. I mean, we could almost eliminate Washington right now. I shouldn't say almost eliminate Washington because we got to play them. But right now they have 1 more loss because they have 1 more game than us. We're a half game behind them. I
think Washington is much better than their record, so I think they're going to win games down the stretch.
Same. I agree.
So
what do you
if
think
the Bears
Fields
go Marvin at 1,
what's Fields worth in a trade? Like, is it a Falcons 1? Oh,
second
you think it later? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's
thought
worth
he'd
the
go
first.
a little higher.
I'd go second to third. Second to third.
If you can do that, I don't know. If you can get a second or a third round pick, I don't know if he's worth trading. It depends how much you value these top 2 quarterbacks.
Drake May and Caleb Williams are pretty freaking good.
Yeah. Man, I would have thought he'd go a little bit higher. I guess you got to decide on his 5th year option. See, I think Fields has shown more than Sam Darnold, and we got a second for Sam. So I guess if you can get a second for Fields, that's probably right, like a top end second.
So in a world, there is a world where if Chicago goes Marvin at 1,
and then they go
New
O-line
England
at
wins
5.
a game.
Well, I was going to say, what if it goes? Sorry, I'll let you finish. But Marvin Harrison 1. The second pick is a top 5 pick for the Bears. They get the tackle, and then they trade Fields and like their top end second to get back into the first to get whatever quarterback's falling.
I mean,
wild addition.
That is wild, but to your point, or what I was going to say before is, if Marvin goes in a world, this is a world. If Marvin goes 1, New England wins a game, which then slides Arizona back to 2. Then when New England would be sitting 3, okay. In a world, if Marvin goes 1 and Arizona's sitting at 2 on draft night, I think Kyler is their guy. I think Gannon really likes Kyler, so I don't think they're going quarterback.
Man, if you told me last year, I would have said Kyler's gone. I would trade Kyler to Minnesota, or I would trade him to Atlanta for a first.
So it would be Arizona could go offensive line, but offensive line at number 2 is rich because I think you can get them at 4 or 5. And then now you're in a scenario where Caleb Williams and Drake May are available at 3 and 4.
I can't see that happening. They're not falling that far. Quarterback's too valuable. They're going to be top 3, I feel like.
So wait, hold on. So if Chicago drafts Marvin, and Arizona's not going to go quarterback, May and Williams are going to either one of them is going to be available at 4.
I get what you're saying. You got to think one of those teams would trade out at that point. You're saying it would be Caleb.
Who?
If it's
New England's drafting a quarterback at 3.
Oh, you're saying one of I see what you're saying. One of the 2 will be there at 4. I got you. Okay, that makes sense.
4.
I think.
And then Chicago's at 4.
So if they go Caleb at 1, I don't know.
It's like, dude, you're scratching your head. Like, this is a crazy thing.
The
It could
Bears
be,
run
like,
this
the
draft right
scenarios.
now. The Bears run this
They
draft.
control it.
I
Yeah.
can't see quarterbacks not going 1-2. And I feel like if the Bears earned the number 1 pick, not that they've earned it, I guess the Panthers are earning them that number 1 pick, but they have the number 1 pick in 3 consecutive drafts or whatever, or 2 consecutive
Now,
drafts.
do you remember when Cleveland had the 1st and 4th pick in the Saquon draft and they controlled the draft?
I do.
Now,
they went Baker and they went Denzel Ward.
The difference between that draft and this one is that Chicago has a quarterback right now.
They do.
That's the thing. So they can go Marvin at 1 and then the tackle at 4 because they'll get one of the 2 tackles at 4.
Sure, absolutely.
And then that draft, and then it really opens up.
Yeah, because if the quarterbacks go 2-3 and the O line go, let's say 4-5 or something like that, then
Arizona's the wild card for me.
Yeah, Arizona's tough right now. Marvin Harrison's not getting below either the Cardinals or the Bears. Those are the 2 teams I'd penciled him in for because I don't think
he doesn't get outside the top 4, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think he'll stay inside the top 4. And honestly, he's probably top 3. It's probably the first non-quarterback taken. It would have to be a really.
I agree with that.
I don't know which team would pass on him for a tackle. So I feel like top 3 is really what I should be saying.
Because Arizona needs the tackle. They need a franchise tackle. Can Arizona stomach taking a franchise tackle over Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I don't think so. I mean, didn't they just take Josh Johnson like not that long ago?
Oh, they took what's his face? Paris Johnson in like 9th overall or 8th overall. Paris Johnson.
Okay. I was gonna say I thought they had one of the Johnsons down there.
How do you not take another tackle though? You could address the other side now because I believe both of them play right and left. They did in college.
I think it depends. Man, if you have a generational talent
It's
there,
so
if you don't
tough.
deem the offensive tackle as generational, I think you have to go Marvin Harrison for them.
Because if
specifically.
Chicago,
for us, I think it.
So if Chicago, if Chicago goes Marvin at 1, then the draft turns into a frenzy because then nobody knows what's going to happen with the quarterbacks. If they go Caleb at 1, Fields is getting traded, and that changes the trajectory of the draft. Dude,
maybe not till the second day though. If he's only worth a 2 or a 3, I'm shocked Fields is only worth that much.
2 or 3.
I feel like he's put enough on tape that a late, like I feel like they could. Maybe I'm wrong saying you can get a late first for him, but like let's say a team like who's at the bottom end of this draft.
The Rams.
Rams are mid first. I wouldn't go mid first on that pick right now, but man, I guess there's not really maybe a. You're not going to have Fields sit behind.
No, Falcons are too rich.
I think all these picks are too high right now for Fields. I don't see anyone like the back end of the first right now. Eagles won't do it. I don't think the Dolphins do it. I don't think the Ravens would do it. I mean, it would make sense from a backup perspective to like, hey, you're going all in on Lamar having at least a good backup quarterback. But I think that's too much to pay for a backup quarterback for 2 years.
So is there any chance Chicago goes tackle at 1, or do you think they bank at tackle at 4?
I would bank a tackle at 4. You're going to have one of those 2. I would not go tackle with my first pick if I were the Bears.
So you think it's Marvin or a quarterback at 1?
I do. I think that makes the most sense for the Bears right now. And honestly,
because their wide receiving core isn't bad. They got DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, and Cole Kmet.
So Darnell Mooney's a free agent, so it depends if he wants to stay there or not. You might know more come, if you say, hey, we're going to have Caleb Williams as our quarterback. Now maybe you attract some wide receivers in free agency because it's going to be a pretty good wide receiver class. Now, if you say like maybe you attract someone else, like let's say, what if Kirk Cousins is so pissed off at the Vikings for not extending him? He goes, screw this, I'm going to Chicago and we're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and have DJ Moore and I'm going to go at Minnesota this year. Like maybe that's what happens. Damn, I don't know.
The scenarios right now, like if like I said before, if Marvin goes 1, which I'll be depressed because I want Marvin to the Jets. I know it's a long shot.
It would be cool as hell. I don't think we're getting in the top 3.
He was teammates with Garrett Wilson
7.
at OSU. He was teammates with Garrett Wilson at OSU.
Oh no, I get that. I don't think we're getting in the top 3 though. That's more my thing.
A top 3 is a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream, but it's still something to think about because it can theoretically happen.
It can, and it's not like crazy far off. Like let's see.
Arizona just needs to win. If Arizona wins and we lose,
So
And the
right
Giants, which I
now,
think the Giants are rolling right now, so I think the Giants have momentum, and I think the Giants are going to win an extra couple games for Dable.
so the
Washington's
Giants,
better than us.
the Giants remaining 5 games, they got 2 versus the Eagles. Let's pencil those in as losses, unless the final game of the season is a tank job by the Eagles. It's entirely possible, I guess. But they have the Saints, the Rams, and Packers. I could see maybe a win in there.
I don't think the Eagles are tanking because Dallas is on their tail.
I'm saying the last game of the season, if they know the 1 seed's
Oh,
already
mathematically?
Mathematically, it might be like a rest sort of situation. After the Giants, we got Washington. They have Dallas, San Francisco, the Jets, and the Rams. So really us losing to them is going to decide who has the pick in front of us, I think. What was the other team? The Bears have the Lions, the Browns, the Falcons, the Cardinals, and Green Bay. I think the
Browns
Bears
are moving up.
I was going to say,
Or Bears.
I think the Bears are going to fall. I think they're going to win against the Falcons. I think they can win against the Cardinals. I think they could win against the Packers. Division games are wonky. Then who else is in front of us right now?
If by some godforsaken reason Drake May is available for us at our pick,
Arizona. So Arizona's remaining games. So the only game we can really expect Arizona to win is Chicago. Because I think they're gonna lose against the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. Chicago's their only opponent other than that. Interesting.
Is that Seattle game in Seattle or is that in Arizona?
I don't know. It doesn't say on Tankathon here. It just says toughest opponents, easiest opponents.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Does anyone have the Jets as a tough opponent on here? No.
No, they better not, or else
no. Jets fall in the easy opponent category. But I was just curious to see if, based on people's hard schedules, or easy schedules, maybe we would have.
So 3 is a pipe dream. 4 is in the realm.
3 is a pipe dream. I think top 5 is definitely attainable. 4, we might need a little help on. Blitzcrew hops in, says, unless Joe Douglas and Saleh get fired before the draft, no way we draft a quarterback with our first. They need results next season, need guys that will show out as a rookie. So I agree with Blitzcrew here. I do think they need to show out as a rookie, but I think offensive lineman is, I think everyone probably feels that's squarely in the conversation. And then the wide receivers next. I would love a situation where we get T. Higgins in free agency because that rights the wrong that the Packers did to Rodgers, because when the Packers traded up for Jordan Love, they probably should have been trading up for T. Higgins at that point rather than the quarterback. So maybe you get him and there's they feel good about that. I don't know. I think it's going to be a receiver or tackle or a trade down.
So
those feel like the 3 most likely options.
Yeah. So based off of what Blitzcrew is saying here, because my top 2 wide receivers are Neighbors and MHJ. MHJ is going to go from 1 to 4. And Neighbors, I don't think will creep into the top 5. I can't see him creeping into there. So the only receiver going in the top 5 is probably going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. Then after that, in terms of pass catchers, you got Brock Bowers, and then you got Neighbors shortly after that. Okay. Now, will one of these teams in the top 6 or 7 fall in love with Brock Bowers? Who knows? Because not too long ago, Kyle Pitts was drafted in the top 5. So
would your pick dictate, let's say we get a big body guy like a Higgins or Evans in free agency, would that steer you closer to a Neighbors pick? And then if you went with a Devontae via trade, would that steer you towards a Bowers pick? Does free agency influence that decision for you at all?
Yes,
normally with the draft, it may or may not. It's
great.
Tough. Okay.
So for me, I think the free agency impacts it greatly. Now, here's the thing. I think they'll value T. Higgins just because of his age and his height ability and pass catching up in the air.
I think he's elite. I think he's really good.
I think T. Higgins is going to be a big target for the Jets. And then I think Devontae is going to be a close second just because of the Aaron Rodgers connection. Mike Evans, I think, stays in Tampa. I don't see that as realistic to me, at least. Okay. Just because I think he's going to want to finish his career there. If we get T. Higgins in free agency and say we fall in the top 7, for me, it's the tackle or Bowers at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I would be fine with that.
So, but I think they would more lean tackle because it's much more of a need, because then we would have already addressed pass catcher in the offseason. Because I think
Well,
Ruckert and
especially because you
Conklin
have
will be here next
Conklin,
year.
you're gonna have Conklin and Ruckert here. I think Uzama's done.
Yeah.
And then you've
Yeah.
got Kuntz, or you bring in someone else at tight end also.
I
don't
think
know
Conklin's going to re-sign, so I think Conklin
Well,
will
he's
be here
here.
because he's
I
proven
think
his worth.
I think Conklin's under contract, so I think we restructure him and bring him back for like 2 more years. And
He was 2 years, no? I thought he was 2 or 3.
I'm pretty sure he's under. Let me before I misspeak.
I thought he signed the same contract as Uzama, or really close.
He did. I thought they were both. Let me see.
Or is it 2 years with an option?
So we have him under contract for 2024. So right now he's got a void year in 2025. February 10th of 2025 his contract ends. So he will be on our roster next year. I think what's more likely is we drop his cap hit with a restructure next year and make him a 2-year deal. So, his contract ends in 2025. That would be my guess if we want to create more salary cap room, because I think Conklin's proven himself here as a pass catcher to at least be tight end 2 for next season, regardless of what we do.
So if we're thinking that Conklin's going to be here next year, and the Jets have addressed the tight end position in the last couple of drafts with Ruckert and stuff, then in that scenario, then yeah, I'm all for tackle. Absolutely.
So Julian comes in, and I'm going to pull this up right now. He says, did you see Breece Hall's liked tweets? He liked tweets against him and Garrett Wilson.
I did not see that.
Let's see. Breece Hall has been very disappointing this year. Breece Hall is a scrub. Breece Hall has been pathetic running back for 5+ weeks. Breece Hall sucks. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson's overrated. So there's a few people in here that he is definitely not thrilled with. I don't know if any of these have. This one person has 53 followers. Is one of the ones. 900 followers. This one's 142 followers. This one's 1,000, so he cracked that. And then this person's got 22,000 followers. Okay, so he liked one person with like a reasonable amount of followers. Everything else he's just like salty about, I guess. But maybe it's, I don't know if it's so much. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think he's feeding off of the bad.
He wants to win.
Vibes. He wants to win. I agree.
He wants to win. And listen, with Garrett and Breece, these guys, they're not used to losing.
They're not. They're coming from winning organizations. You're talking about,
I know.
Sauce, who I think, did Cincinnati win every game that final year with him there? Were they undefeated?
That was the Luke Fickell year that he left. Cincinnati, yeah.
I think they went undefeated. Now I got to look that up.
Yeah, because they were in talks for the playoff, if I remember. Did they lose a game? I don't remember. I really don't remember.
What
they
was
were
that,
top 6 at
2021?
Fickell. It was Fickell's last year in Cincinnati, and then he went to what do you call it? Wisconsin.
So it's got to be 22. I typed in 21.
Yeah, it's 22 because McDonald was last year, and then they were the year before, so it's 22.
Let's see. I got to type in Cincinnati Bearcats because Cincinnati doesn't do that for me.
I believe, yeah, because Desmond Ridder was his quarterback. That's right.
Yep.
Desmond Ridder was his quarterback. So I think they were up there. I don't know if they went undefeated.
No, I was wrong. So 2022 it says 9-4. Oh no, that would have been last year though. So it would have had to be 21. So what was it last year? What the hell did I click on?
They were up there.
The chat's going to beat me to it. I know they were a good team. 13-1. They were 8-0 in the AAC.
Yeah, they had one of the best defenses in college football that year.
They were so good. I mean, their cornerback tandem was filthy.
Absolutely. Yeah, they had
they lost to Alabama
Gardner,
in 2022 is what Flight Right says.
Bryant, who's in Seattle. Yeah, they had a really good tandem. They had a really, really good tandem. But in terms of man, I am really looking, and I hate to say this because we still have a good chunk of the season left, and I want to root for winning football, but it's just at this point, how can you stomach trying to win another game? I know this defense is not going to allow us to lose, but how do you stomach winning at this point? How?
So I don't want to see a win with Trevor or Boyle. If you have to win, I'd rather it be with Zach because at least there's maybe some hope. Unless he's gone regardless. If he's gone regardless, then fucking tank everything.
He's done the rest of the year.
I don't want to see Rodgers have any hope of coming back this year. Maybe this one just slammed the door shut. I would think this eliminates us.
I
entirely.
think if Rodgers does come back this year, I want him back for one game towards the end of the year. Possibly because who do we play at the end of the year? We play Jacksonville and New England.
No, it goes Washington, then Thursday night against the Browns, and then week 18 against the Patriots. And I'll be honest, like, I really don't want to see him back at all, because at least then I have blind hope that everything could be good. God forbid, like, he looks bad.
No,
like,
we're missing a game in there. Don't they play Jacksonville on Christmas?
No, Christmas Eve is Washington.
Oh, I'm mixing up games.
Jacksonville, was that last year? Maybe?
I thought Jacksonville was on the schedule this year.
No, they're not on the schedule this year. We played the Titans.
Because that's only 3 games. That's only 3 games.
Well, we've got
8.
Houston. Houston's next week.
Houston, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Houston. I would love to see Rodgers in a game towards the end of the year, because I want to get the guys like Brees and Garrett, I want to get them excited looking towards next year. So I would like to see maybe a game with Rodgers in it.
I can understand that. It scares the bejesus out of me, though.
But if it means moving from like top 5 to like 8 or 9 in the draft, I don't know how you could put him in.
Well, that's just it. Like, I'd rather how you could not put him in if you're going from 5 to 8.
Yeah, like,
dude,
like
if you're knocking me out of 5, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be so mad if they put Rodgers in and we got a top 5 pick. Because that's the tackle or the receiver for Rodgers.
Yeah.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad. I'd be pissed. I mean, it'd be cool to like see him go off, but man, that would suck. That would really. Do we have to sign
Michael Carter this year?
He is.
Is he up this year?
1 more year, I believe.
Is he 1 more year?
Okay, I think he's 1 more year. He would have been drafted the same year as Eccles. And I think
that was the Michael Carter draft. That was the
It was the double Michael Carter.
Was that his first? That was his
It
first
wasn't
draft.
his Becton draft. That was the second draft. That was the Zach draft.
That was
it went
the
Zach,
draft.
AVT, Elijah Moore, and then I think it went. Was that your Michael Carter? I think Michael Carter was the next pick, and then it was like Eccles, then Michael Carter the second, and then.
I'm trying to remember. This is going back a little ways now. I'm trying to remember.
It definitely is. I wish we had so many good picks we couldn't worry about it.
Carson,
any last words? I'm going to eject you.
Have a good one, brother.
Take it easy, dude. Appreciate the call. All right. Carson's out of here. All right, let's wrap this up. Blitzcrew saying people saying Brees sucks, not seeing what he is facing on the field and only looking at stats. That being said, I don't want a late round power back. Or I do want a late round power back, is what Blitz says. So I very much would like to add someone that can replace a Michael Carter as the 3rd down blocking back. Dalvin Cook's not going to be here. I think you obviously have Brees and Izzy as your speed backs, so give me someone that can provide something different. I don't want it a super crazy high priority. I would almost prioritize blocking over like being a power back, because I think Brees can still give you the power. But yes, I tend to agree with you. And I think the Brees Hall stuff, Brees Hall sucks. Well, guess what? Le'Veon Bell sucks as well. And like all these other quarterbacks or all these other running backs, and it's because the offensive line is struggling. And it's because there's no creativity on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I'm sorry, when you have a 1st and 10 incompletion and sure as shit it's going to be a run on 2nd down. Been calling it every week for the last few weeks. 2nd and 10. Here comes the run right up the gut. Don't think defenses know that's coming too? They definitely are. So it's definitely on the offensive line. I think some of it's on the play caller. There is going to be some, level of blame I'm sure you could assign to Brees, but I think Brees and Garrett by far are the 2 most electric players for our team. All right, boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you. I am going to call it a night. I'm going to go watch some actual football. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Jets lose to the Falcons 13-8. Bench Tim Boyle for Mr. Trevor Siemian, and literally nothing got better. The entire world's burning around us. I don't know what to do. Boys and girls, I'll talk to you tomorrow for the call-in show.